Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Well, all those reels you're looking in front of you there, they happen to be mine. And they happen to be the ones that I use surf fishing over the course of a season, both inshore and out at the ocean. And I thought this would be a good time to talk about common mistakes that folks make in the line of fishing reel service and maintenance, and also give you some hints about end of season, because that's where we are right now. We're at the end of the season, and this just kind of brought back to memory some of the things that just serve as a useful reminder in terms of what you should be doing as you prepare for the off season. While we cover a lot of tips and techniques in this channel, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy learning about those, as well as learning how to take these reels apart, service them, and keep them fishing again. Well, there's a wide array of fishing reels there. I'm really not brand specific. I do use a lot of Penn fishing reels where I am, just because, well, Penn was always pretty much a premier provider for salt water, and a lot of the fishing that I do is, again, in the bays and in the oceans around the mid-Atlantic coast. So it's not surprising to see that there are Penns there, but there's also a lot of other stuff. So let's look at the common mistakes. There's about 8 or 9 of them I'd like to cover in this video, so please stay watching. If I seem to be redundant on one or two, well, the next one you may learn from. So the first common mistake, interestingly enough, is skipping annual maintenance. You know, there's a lot of folks that will have a reel serviced. They'll put it on their pole. The pole will be in the rod rack. It'll be sitting there for some time, but let's say that the pole was specifically set up for something like a striped bass. And well, the owner of the reel and the rod, they didn't get out for striped bass that season. They figure everything will be fine. Let's just put it aside and we'll come back to it next year. Well, skipping annual maintenance is almost a sure way to make certain that you will have a failure along the line. Something will happen to that, even if it's just the effects of gravity. What do I mean by gravity? Well, as you store a reel for any given amount of time, the oils and the greases settle to the lowest point. So if you've got that reel laying on its side, if you've got it standing up in a rod rack, if you have it hanging from a rafter in your storage shed, whatever it is, it's going to puddle down to the bottom. Eventually, because it's not used, it's going to evaporate or dry out. That drying out is going to clog the gears, and well, you're going to have either a difficult turning reel, or you're going to have one that fails because something got in the way while you're trying to catch fish. So annual maintenance is recommended. And what I do on the channel is the way I show you to take a reel apart, to service, to clean it, to inspect the pieces and parts, to replace the worn ones. There's a certain formula for making sure that you have worry-free fishing going ahead. So please use the annual maintenance and don't skip it. That's the most common mistake. What's another one? Well, it's kind of shortcutting that, isn't it? It's the folks that will take a reel. Let's just look at this one. This is one of my favorites from the 80s. This is a Shakespeare 2470 Pro Touch. It was right at the era of graphite coming into play. A lot of folks will lube the reel, but won't clean it. So it's sort of like putting new oil into dirty oil in your automobile. The contaminants that get into the case, and these are certainly not IPX rated kind of reels, right? The contaminants that get into the case, you just add oil into it. How do they do that? Well, they remove the button here, they remove the spool, and just shoot some down the axle shaft, right? I guess we've all been there in a pinch, right? You just throw some on the bottom of the axle shaft there and hope to get away with it. Well, you're not really getting away with anything. And it does become problematic as the oils will loosen the greases. And, well, again, if there's contaminants in there, it only helps those contaminants float around and eventually wear down the gearing or that. So don't opt for the easy way out, just lubing it and not taking the full effect of the reel there. Now, the next one is one of my favorite ones. It's all about the line. And here's a reel that has gone 2 years. I haven't fished with it, but it's gone 2 years without replacing the line. And it's time. And a lot of folks are wondering why all these reels are sitting here. They're mine. It's that time of year, and every reel will have its line removed and replaced. But here's what happens when you don't replace line. Line's got memory, and you can see how it just curls coming off of that spool. Well, line is cheap, and even if you're thinking, oh, $40 is a lot for a pack of Power Pro braid or whatever, please take the time, spend the money. You don't think anything of spending the $10 or the $20 on a plug that you might be using. Think about the line itself. You don't want to be in a situation like this, because that's a pure indication that the line is old and needs to be replaced. On the line itself, why does it get that way? The line has memory, particularly monofilament. It's also exposed to the UV rays of the sun, even if it's not fishing, and that deteriorates the line. And of course, when you're in a battle with a fish and pulling on that line, like I'm doing here, that line is going to stretch. So replace that line. It's a common mistake. Oh, you have braid, you say. So why is that a problem? Well, almost lost that one, didn't I? Braid frays. This is another one. This is a Penn Battle that I use in the surf. Braid frays. And a lot of folks will take the first few feet of line and they'll look at it and here's a piece of fray right here. And maybe they tie some new braid on, or maybe they just clip this part off. Problem is, when you're surf fishing, you're throwing this out 50 yards, 75 yards, 100 yards, and all of that braid is traveling through your line guides. All of that braid is getting knocked about in the ocean, whether it's on the floor or coming into contact with rocks or jetties or what have you. It's going to fray all the way back in the spool. So just looking at that first foot or 2 or 3 that's passing through as you attach your lures or your hooks is not sufficient enough to guarantee that you will not have braid failure. So again, yeah, it's a little bit more pricey than monofilament. It should be replaced. In this case, it's going to be replaced. So replace the line when you're doing your annual maintenance. That's the best time to do it. That's what's going to happen with all of these reels. And well, when you remove the line, you might find a surprise. And here's a surprise that I found doing just that. This is an older Penn. It's a Penn 79. And when I removed the line, look what I found. The spool had separated. Well, that's definitely a recipe for failure. And you wouldn't even see that if you just decided to leave the line on. Particularly if you use a reel like this. This is an Okuma. It's an Okuma Metal X65. Not a very expensive reel, but it is a plastic spool. Well, you don't know what's underneath. You don't know if you've got cracks in that spool. You don't know if it's still stable, if it's warped, any of that, without removing the line. Again, you can see this line needs to be replaced. And this was replaced last year. So this is in 1 year, you've got the curling going on with the line. And it happens, certainly happens more when you're into the heavier types of the line. That one, I think, is 30-pound monofilament. But by all means, replace the line. So the 3 common mistakes on fishing reels is not doing the annual maintenance, trying to get by with a quick solution like lubing, but not taking the reel apart and cleaning it, and not replacing the line. Well, what else is there that you should be looking at as issues? Because, well, reels just don't get like this with any of those activities being performed, right? This one's just been sitting around an awful long time. This is a Daiwa Millionaire. You can see all kinds of issues have been going on with that, all due to lack of maintenance. And one of these days, we'll get underneath this one, try and figure out what this is. This is a garage sale find. And, well, I got it on the cheap because, well, among other things, it doesn't turn because your free spool is not returning. Okay. One of the things you want to do, in addition to your reels, is to look at your rods and your tackle. And here's an example of a rod. This one's been used heavily on a boat. This is a 6'6" pole. It's used for traditional, conventional reels, like the one I was just showing you with that separated spool. And you want to pay attention to your line guides. You can see the metal plating is coming off on these line guides. When that comes off, it creates a rough exterior. I can feel it here. It's almost like sandpaper. As your line is traveling through your line guides, it's picking up on that. It's rubbing, it's fraying like you saw in that braid before. It's causing all kinds of havoc with your fishing reels, the tackle, the line, etc. This one also had a broken tip top. Now the tip top was on there. I've removed it. I'm going to replace it. But the tip top looked like it was okay because the circle was intact, this part. But the two supporting arms that goes to it, those were disconnected. They broke off from wear. So pay attention not only to your reels, but to your rod. Inspect those eyelets. Check for the loose tip top. Clean the rod. This one hasn't been cleaned. Use a product like a rod and reel cleaner. Here's one that I use. It's a Penn rod and reel cleaner. It's both a cleaner and kind of a wax or a polish that's going to help you to do that, right? So make sure that you do the cleaning on that, and well, not only your rods, but your tackle as well. Here's a prime example of that. We just had this one in the ocean. My grandson and I were out fishing. My two grandsons and I were out fishing. Striped bass. That's a nice striped bass plug. He grabbed it from a tackle bag. I hadn't been in that tackle bag in quite some time. Look what we have. We have rusted hooks that are dull. Now, would we catch a fish with this? We probably would. It's still got a nice little point on it. But this is the time of year where you want to get the replacement hooks. Most of these are steel. Most of these are going to rust. And, well, it's easy enough. Get a split ring pliers. Just pop the plier out, pull the old hook off, put the new hook on. You're ready to go in the spring. And you feel much more confident as you're throwing this that if you do get a hook up, you're not going to lose that because of a dull hook that just hadn't been set properly. Here's another one. Same idea. Beautiful lure. Well, time has passed, right? We've got the rusted hooks. And remember, when you're fishing these, particularly if you're in a situation where you're fishing a rocky ledge or a bottom or on a jetty, these things are going to bounce all the time. They're going to lose their form. So check to make sure they haven't been pulled out or apart from the initial setting. They're going to lose their tips. That's the first thing that's going to hit a rock. And it's going to dull it or it's going to bend it back. And you need to inspect all of these to clean them, replace them as appropriate. So take care of your tackle. Your tackle will take care of you. Well, I hope you're enjoying this. As you watch these, if you have questions that come up, if you're interested in learning some more and maybe I'm not providing it in the videos, you have a suggestion for a video, please leave those in the comment section. I will try to answer those for you. Well, the next two are just kind of an obvious thing, but I always like to bring it up. A lot of folks say, yeah, I took the reel apart, I cleaned it up, I greased it, I lubricated it, it's ready to go. Well, it's not ready to go until you address the top drags on your spinning reel. The spinning reel by nature is going to gather line by pulling in through the top and wrapping it around. This is what's called a fixed spool. The spool is going to sit, the line is going to wind with your rotor. All of the water coming off of the line, well, it's going to hit here. And this isn't a waterproof bowl, right? It's all going to go in here. It doesn't have anywhere to go but to drain onto the drag washers that are underneath this assembly, if I can get it off. And, well, it's going to bring all the dirt and contaminants and other debris that's in the water. It's going to wash it over those drag washers. And, well, it's going to come down the sides here, get in there, make the drags less efficient, if not help the drag seize to the metal washers that are underneath. So don't just pay attention to the bottom area, make sure that you service the top. Last one, well, it's kind of an obvious one again, but it happens all the time. You're out there on the ocean. In this case, it's ocean. This is a Daiwa lever drag reel. This one has got a really hard, if not impossible, lever. I had it working before, but not now. And the problem or the mistake that people commonly make is they think that strength, brute strength, can overcome issues. And so you force things. And in forcing this lever drag, somebody probably broke something underneath it, and what happens to it? Comes into my shop for, can you help me with this service, right? So not only do you want to pay attention to the service and maintenance on a regular basis, but you want to do some preventive activities like not forcing reels when there's clearly something wrong with it. Don't try to go ahead and try to get the rest of the fishing trip out of the way using a reel that's clearly has a problem. You're only going to exacerbate that problem, and with that is going to come a repair. So I hope you've enjoyed that. It's a little lesson on the common mistakes. It's a little insight into what I'm going to be doing. All of the line comes off, all of the reels come apart, they all get cleaned, inspected, and serviced. And when my grandkids are ready again in the spring for the spring runs, not only will we have reels that we can depend on, but we'll have the tackle with the hooks on them that can guarantee that if we do hook, it will stay hooked. And we'll have the peace of mind that we won't have to end the trip early because, well, we don't have any reels to fish with. I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, again, I would encourage you to please subscribe. If you want to see more of these, please leave it in the comments section. Let me know what you would like to learn more about. And before I leave, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, everybody involved in keeping us out of harm's way. Truly appreciate them day in and day out for all they do, for their career dedication and performance. Also want to thank you for watching. I appreciate your watching the channel, your subscriptions. They don't cost anything, so please subscribe. And, well, you're helping to make the channel better by your suggestions, your tips, and your desire to learn more about fishing reel service and repair. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day. Thanks for watching.